I'm not going to talk for too long because all that has to be said has been said. The only thing I will urge you is that of Perez Chapel for giving us this their beautiful church auditorium to hold this program. Reverend Ajinasari is my small brother. We grew up in Tamale together, and so I want to thank him and the local pastors of this church for allowing us to use their venue. I also want to thank all the churches in Ghana, because in most of the places I've gone to meet our delegates, the churches have the biggest, locations that make it convenient to meet. So the Church of Pentecost, Presbyterian Church, Assemblies of God, Christ Apostolic Church, Perez Chapel, Catholic Church, and all the other churches that have allowed us to use their auditoriums wherever we've gone around the country, I want to thank you very much. The only message I'll leave with you is we can retain these seats if we're united. And so let us be united. We can't afford to let these seats go. On May 13th, we're going to the polls to select our parliamentary candidate and our presidential candidate. As far as I'm aware, 3 people are standing, 2 including the incumbent, and I've said somewhere that if we could send all the 3 of them to parliament, we'll do so. But the law allows us to send only 1. And so we'll have to select 1. So at the end of the day, 1 person will emerge. But what I expect is that as soon as that 1 person emerges, let's all close our ranks and support the person. It is said that God's time is the best. And so it is somebody's time today, it will be another person's time tomorrow. And the way we support that person is the same way that we will also be supported when it gets to our turn. Thank you very much. After saying that, I want to thank you for the promise of 100%. And I know that Ablekuma Central, anytime you have promised me, you have fulfilled your promise. I came in 2019, you think percent, and truly when we finished casting the votes, you gave me exactly what you said you were going to give me. And so now that you said you're going to get some of the rejected ballots and the ones that Professor Alabi took, you're going to get all back and add them. No, I want you all to thank him for me. He's been, and that's why when chairman says 99.9%, I know it is going to happen. We need experienced hands to rescue this country. We all know the situation in which we are. We handed over, the thing about our democracy is, it's like a baton race. So you run and give the baton to the next person. Rawlings started it in the Fourth Republic. He gave to President Kufuor. Kufuor ran, gave the baton to President Mills. President Mills handed over the baton to me. And in 2016, I handed over to Nana Akufo-Addo. Unfortunately, Nana Akufo-Addo started running in reverse instead of running forward. Because effectively he has taken us back several years. I mean, this country does not deserve this. This country does not deserve this. Ghana was the poster boy of stability and democracy and economic prosperity. So what happened suddenly? When I travel outside, people ask me, Ghana, what happened to you? And I tell them that we were warning them and they didn't listen. I mean, anytime they went onto the international market to borrow, and they were borrowing huge sums, when we criticized them, they said, oh, it's because they are credit worthy. The international community trusts them. That's why they are giving them the money. Now today, look at you, on your knees knocking on the door of the IMF. At least when we went to IMF, we walked boldly and they opened the door and we entered. And so there was an economics professor who told her, he said, you better go to the IMF now while you can walk, otherwise you will be sent to the IMF in an ambulance. Today they are in an ambulance knocking on the door of IMF, begging every country to forgive their debt. And yet when you were borrowing recklessly and we told you, you refused to listen. And so Ghana needs to be rescued. Everything is going haywire. Businesses are not doing well. You go to the port is empty because nobody is clearing anything through Ghana anymore. Importers are taking their things to Lome and clearing them in Lome port. Some are putting them in bonded warehouses, and as and when they need them, they bring them in by truck. That cannot be good for this country. We built that new port. It is the most efficient port in the whole of West Africa, and yet it is standing idle because the volumes are so low. Aside from that, everything else, businesses are collapsing. I have several friends who are business people, and they come and tell me, they say, look, NDC, you guys must do your best. We're going to support you. If we even have to sell property and give you to win this election, you must win it for us. Because our businesses are collapsing. And they all remember, they say in 2016, when NDC was dead, their businesses were doing well. And one of them told me that I made more money even under Dumso than I am making today. And that's the gospel truth. Because things are not working, taxes are being put more on the businesses. They said we're going from taxation to production, and that they were going to reduce taxes because we were charging too many taxes on industry. Today the taxes are the highest we've ever witnessed in the history of this country. If you go to a supermarket and buy something, just look at your receipt. The true cost of your items might be less than 600 cedis, 500 and something. And yet when you go to the till to pay, you pay 800 and something. And when you look at the receipt and you see the taxes there, they're almost 1/3 of the price of the items that you bought. And so people are suffering, and they're looking up to NDC to rescue them. They're asking us to come for our stone. And that's why that young man brought this huge cement block and came and put in front of me. He says this big stone is for all of you NDC. Because when you said it, people refused to listen. They were taken in by the sweet promises that these people made. And they came and spoke, promised heaven. But it teaches us a lesson that when politicians come making big promises, they are lying. They don't intend to fulfill it. All they want is your vote in order to get political power. Once they get political power, that's it. $1 million per constituency per year. Ablekuma Central, by now you have about $6 million in your account. And in Tree they say, unya bibi mawasia and bono chrono. The $1 million you promised us, you haven't given it to us. And meanwhile, the district assembly's common fund that was coming, and we're using it to do little development in our area, that one to Krana is not coming. If you ask their DCs and their MCs, they will tell you that sometimes they have to borrow to fulfill obligations in the assembly because the district assembly's common fund is just not being paid. They've gone to mortgage the GET fund and taking what they call a Dachi bond. And so because of that GET fund, all the projects they were doing in our schools, universities, colleges of education, secondary schools, all the work that GET fund was doing, its revenues have been taken, borrowed in advance. And so GET fund cannot pay the contractors. And so you go to the secondary schools, the dormitory blocks we were building, the classroom blocks we were building, they are all at a standstill. And so it makes the situation in the schools not conducive to teaching and learning. And that's why the children are finding it difficult. You waste money, you spend money on your child, dispatch him to school. In 4 weeks, he's coming back. Why are you coming back? Because of red, gold, green, and this one has to go. We also have to come. And so it creates a problem for the children. The feeding is not good. A lot of the food is so bad. And sometimes they don't get food at all. And yet a child who has not eaten, who is hungry, how do you expect him to learn? And so they go and sit in the classroom and nothing. One of my friend's children, after I talked about the school, the secondary school food, he called me and said, "Uncle, you know, in the morning they give us black tea. And so my parents give me money, I buy bread. So when I'm going to the dining hall, I cut my bread and carry it along so that when they give me the tea, I can eat the bread with the tea." What of those who don't have bread to go? They'll drink black tea and go and sit in the classroom. Can a child like that learn anything? When a child is hungry, he can't learn. Any child is in its worst position ever. The health minister himself has admitted that the NHIL is not working. He says he himself, he doesn't use his NHIL card anymore. Because what you are expected to get as a card bearer of the NHIL, you don't get. And you don't get it because government is not paying the hospitals and the facilities for treating NHIL card bearers. You go there with your card today, the best you will get is paracetamol. That's if you are lucky. In some cases, they say the paracetamol is finished. So they give you a prescription, you have to go to the drugstore and buy all the drugs. And so everything has retrogressed. And that's why Ghanaians are looking up to you. You are the only viable alternative. Because we have done it before. NDC has done it before. I wouldn't say Ghana was a paradise when we were in office, but at least things were working well. You could see that somebody was in charge of this country. Unfortunately, right now, it's like the country is on autopilot. Everybody is doing whatever he can. The president cannot even reshuffle his ministers. And so, they've turned their ministries into empires and do whatever they want there. He's put political apparatchiki in all the government parastatals. Government departments and parastatals that were making a profit under NDC, today they are all making losses. And people are there just chopping with both hands. And that's why MPP must leave office, so that the people of Ghana can hold them accountable. We must break, the 8 must be broken to check corruption. So the 8 must end there, and NDC must come into office so that they can account for all the corruption that has taken place. Otherwise, they are going to sweep everything under the carpet and just continue chopping with both hands. It is time for probity and accountability. And those who have stolen the people's money and misappropriated funds must be prepared to account for it. The anti-corruption institutions must work. We're not going to victimize anybody. We're not going to unduly go after anybody. But we will let the anti-corruption institutions work. And whoever is caught in the web will be sanctioned. It doesn't matter who you are. We need to bring back good governance in this country. And that's why I've said that one of the major sources of corruption in this country is procurement. And so one of the things we're going to establish is an independent office of value for money. And every contract that is more than $5 million must be approved value for money before any agreement is signed. And we're going to let the Ghana Institute of Engineers, the Ghana Institute of Architects help us to set up that office. And if you get any contract that is more than $5 million, it has to go for value for money audit, so that we are sure that Ghanaians are getting true value for anything that government is procuring. That is one means of checking corruption, aside from strengthening the anti-corruption institutions and empowering them to investigate anybody. Whether you belong to the NDC or MPP or any party, if you are involved in corruption, the anti-corruption institutions must deal with you. We must set a new standard in governance. And that is why I say we will establish a governance advisory council. It will be an independent council. And what it will do is it will monitor freedoms, human rights, media freedom, corruption, and everything. At the end of every year, they will publish a report and indicate what the state of governance in Ghana is. And that will serve as a guide to us in government to be able to make corrections if things are not going very well. And so we're coming to government as a serious government that has a vision for stabilizing this country. We did a lot of infrastructure when we were there in power, but these guys have so messed up the country that by the time we come, the fiscal space to be able to do infrastructure will be very small. And so we're saying that we'll harness all the little money we have and continue the ongoing projects and the abandoned projects so that we can complete them before we start any new projects. That's what a visionary government will do. And if we are to succeed, it will depend on you. And that's why I'm saying the campaign 2024 is going to be in your hands. And because it's going to be in your hands, I also make you a promise. You've promised me 100%. I'm also making you a promise that the resources that you need to do the work, the t-shirts, the money, the posters, the bicycles, the motorcycles, the vehicles, all the things you need to do your campaign, I will also procure them and bring them to you. And we're going to bring them directly to you. They are not going to pass corner before they reach here. So when we share for the 275 constituencies, the one for Ablekuma Central, we'll bring it directly to Ablekuma Central. And we're going to get 3 of you from each branch, the chairman, the secretary, the women's organizer. And when you come, we're going to count the items in front of you. And then you all sit down and agree how to share them. And once you share them, everybody will take his share back to his branch and share it with your 9-member executive. The allocation of resources and logistics is going to be transparently and fairly done this time, so that our branch executives get the resources that they need to do their work. We're also going to motivate you with a reward system. Every branch, we're going to look at what you got in 2020. And we're going to show you how many more votes we need you to increase your votes by. And every branch that is able to reach that target and exceed it, all the 9-member executives in that branch, we will give you a handsome reward. So we're going to give you the tools and the resources and logistics to do the work. We're going to give you the targets we want you to achieve. But the third leg is that we're going to train you how to achieve those results. And so all of you are going to attend the NDC party school. There's no space in the headquarters for all of you to go there. So the party school will come to you. And so we're going to set a date. We'll call you as usual like this. And Peter Otokuno and Co. Oh, he's gone. He's a lecturer at the party school, your own Otokuno. So that day they'll come here, teach you party history. What is the history of the NDC? How did the NDC come into being? Who were the founding fathers? Jerry Rawlings, his vision, all those things you'll be taught. They'll teach you the ideology of NDC, social democracy. What does it mean? And they'll also teach you your roles as chairman, as secretary, as organizer. They'll teach you what the party expects you to do, so that we don't have the chairman doing the organizer's work and the secretary doing the chairman's work. Everybody will know what his role is. So you'll be taught all that. You'll be taught how to campaign, persuasive communication. You'll be given the message that you must give out when you go on the campaign trail. Even how you must dress to go for the campaign, you will be told. And the good thing is that after all this training, you will become graduates of the NDC party school. So you will get a beautiful certificate that shows that you graduated from the NDC party school. And you can frame it and put it in your room. And in future, if anybody challenges your status as an NDC person, you say, look, I'm a party school graduate. I'm even a party school graduate. I have a diploma from the NDC party school. And so we're going to do that. And I also say that in order that we can close our relationship, because we always complain that once we've elected the leader, we don't see him again. But of course, it can't be the leader's fault, because we have 40,000 branches. And so the suggestion I'm making is that, and I know NDC is going to win, and so I won't say if, I'll say when I become the president, we shall meet once a year. I'll come to every constituency, and by that time, because I'll be president, the ministers will be lined up here. And they will explain to you what government is doing for you. But the beautiful thing is that you also will have the opportunity to ask and tell us what your challenges are and what your troubles are. And I believe that if we do that once every year for the 4 years we're in office, it will create a closer relationship between us than has existed before. And finally, you are going to enjoy every opportunity, your fair share of every opportunity Ghana has to offer. If it's scholarships, we're going to make sure that your children too get some of those scholarships. If we're sharing small loans to women, we'll make sure our women's organizers too get some of those small loans to do little trading. If we're recruiting into the security services, police, fire service, army, we'll come and ask for your children to come and be recruited. We're not going to ask you to sacrifice again. You must all get your fair share of whatever Ghana has to offer, because you also have responsibility. You have wives, we have husbands, we have children, and we have a responsibility to look after them. We're going to encourage small businesses. And when that program comes, when we're in office, I expect that all our branch executives will get themselves involved in whatever small business you want to run, so that you can get an extra income to be able to look after yourself and your family. So, I've spoken for quite a while. I want to thank you. And I know that the promise you made me is going to be fulfilled. May 13th is just a small hurdle. The real battle is ahead, and that is 7th December 2024. And that night we are all not going to sleep. We're going to give a time, and that time, any constituency that finishes collating its results and presents us with all their pink sheets is going to get a handsome prize. And so if you collate your results quickly and you submit them to the regional secretariat with your pink sheets intact, the constituency is going to get a special prize. And so we expect that everybody will work hard. That night, nobody is going to sleep. The work of collation and transmitting the results is not the job of only the elections director. It is the job of everybody, chairman, youth organizer, everybody. And all of us will stay awake and make sure that that collation is done before we go to bed. I want that by 1 a.m. on 24th December, getting to 2 a.m., we've received all your results and we know that NDC has won the election. We don't want to cheat anybody, and we don't want anybody to cheat us. Because I know that if that election is free, fair, and transparent, there's no doubt in my mind that NDC will win the election of 2024. So let me thank you all very much. God richly bless you and take you back home safely. Thank you.